Specifically, these films are about Native Americans. Obviously, you can see the list of directors. They're not all made by Native American filmmakers, but they have themes where Native Americans are either central to the storyline or play important characters in the films. Some of them are classics, and you'll recognize right away on the top of that list a few of them. Dances with Wolves, that's a big one because that really opened the door for a lot of Native American filmmakers as well. Although that was Kevin Costner's directorial debut, and it had a great cast of Native American actors. Little Big Man, also a great film starring Dustin Hoffman, directed by Arthur Penn, Last of the Mohicans. You can see a lot of great directors on this list. A couple of John Ford films. Now, John Ford was sort of notoriously not always showing Native Americans in the best of light, but that's another story and that's a different lecture. But we are going to touch on The Searchers and Stagecoach, two of his best known films. And also Wind River, a great film starring Jeremy Renner, directed by Taylor Sheridan, who's gone on to be the showrunner of a lot of shows, including Yellowstone and all of the subsequent movies. So a lot of movies on this list that you'll probably know. We're going to talk about a few of them and highlight a couple of them. So one of the things I'm going to be going to a couple of times are clips from this documentary that aired on PBS by a Canadian, Cree Canadian filmmaker, Neil Diamond. Not the singer, not the Coming to America singer, but he's a filmmaker, and he made this documentary about the portrayal of Native Americans in film. It was partly inspired by his own experiences, and he'll in this first clip talk about that, about watching them on screen and sort of wondering where his voice could be heard, where people reflecting his culture could be seen on screen and not just sort of kind of made into a caricature. But a lot of interesting people are interviewed throughout the course of this documentary, and it won a Peabody Award for electronic media in 2011.
Soon we will be gone. Your civilization, you will destroy us. But while you are magic, we will live forever.
Got to cut your throat to get it through your head. I'm a white man.
You fooled him, G. You fooled him. You fooled them all.
You know, the only thing more pathetic than Indians on TV is Indians watching Indians on TV.
I am an Indian, a Cree filmmaker who grew up in one of the most isolated Native communities on Earth, close to the Arctic Circle. When I was a kid, the only show in town was movie night in the church basement. Raised on cowboys and Indians, we cheered for the cowboys, never identifying with the Indians we saw on screen. We don't wear feathers or ride horses, but because of the movies, a lot of the world still thinks we do. I'm headed south to make my own movie, on a journey to explore my Hollywood roots and make sense of how that influenced us all.
You gotta look like a warrior. You gotta look like you just came back from killing a buffalo.
What are
I just want to zip forward because I'm actually going to show you that clip a little bit later.
We'll never be able to change the fantasy of who and what Indians are. That fantasy will always be there. We'll always be on cover of novels saying, Cheyenne warrior.
The first stop on my travels is the American Great Plains, the setting for most of Hollywood's Indian stories. I'm headed west to the sacred Black Hills, once the domain of Chief Sitting Bull, and the legendary Tashunka Witko, otherwise known as Crazy Horse.
Tashunka Witko, which does not mean crazy horse. Tashunka Witko means his horses are spirited. He was a great horse trainer, and all his horses had spirit. You could just see them prancing, yeah.
This is where Crazy Horse outmaneuvered Custer at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Ever since, Hollywood has been telling that story over and over again, turning the battle into legend, and Crazy Horse, an icon.
Well, you dirty, mouth-eating, cockeyed son of a rattlesnake, if it ain't old Crazy Horse, chief of the Sioux.
Legend has it, he killed Custer.
Of course, that's Anthony Quinn, and we're going to talk a little bit about the kind of phenomenon of red face and white actors playing Native Americans, because there really weren't back then a lot of or any Native American actors that were named in films or given actual starring roles.
There's a romanticism and the glory to Little Bighorn. We defeated Custer and all this and that, all at that emotional level. But you know, within 15 years, our leader, Crazy Horse, was dead, Sitting Bull was dead, you know, and we were herded up.
To Native people, Crazy Horse is a mystical warrior, just like in the movies.
It was a continuation of the idea that natives were really great warriors, that they were just incredibly skilled at warfare, almost unstoppable, really. Native Americans were among the first subjects for films. Thomas Edison shot silence about Native Americans. This is in the late 1800s.
Thomas Edison unveiled his kinetoscope in Times Square, and it was a penny machine that played the Laguna Pueblo ceremonies and dances, and those were the very first moving images.
There were more than 100 silents made involving Native Americans, very much because part of American history, of course, was really still ongoing at the time that cinema was really being born.
With populations dwindling, most natives are confined to reservations. Then, as film is being invented, the 7th Cavalry, in revenge for Little Bighorn, opens fire on the last free community of natives. 300 men, women, and children are killed at Wounded Knee on the Pine Ridge Reservation.
That is a genocide that occurred, and the culture wanted to perpetuate the idea that these people are now mythological. You know, they don't even really exist. They're like dinosaurs.
The reason that Indians were projected so heavily into movies was the romance of the tragedy. Greek, Roman tragedy.
I read that in early cinema, they used to get extras in the cowboy movies that were real Indians, and they'd pay them with tobacco and fire water, and they even used to have armed guards to make sure these people didn't get up to any treachery on the set, you know?
So yeah, so the Native Americans have often been portrayed as sort of fictitious stock characters and stereotypes in TV and films, especially in the Western genre and particularly in the films of John Ford. So the image of the Hollywood Indian reflects contemporary and historical Native American popular culture from an Eurocentric studio system eye. And this is another clip from Real Engine where it talks about some of the ways that Native Americans have been portrayed and who has actually done the portraying.
All the mythological apparel that the cinema put around the Indians, putting it in this magic land. Everybody wants to be there. And one of the way to be there was to become Indian.
In the 1930s, the Indian is transformed into a brutal savage. And America, struggling through the Great Depression, needs a new brand of hero.
There were a number of Hollywood films that came out in the early 1930s that followed in the steps of The Silent Enemy. And the Indians were the stars of these movies.
What are you gonna do with that?
But the interesting thing about that whole cycle, they just bombed at the box office. Americans are not that interested in them.
For the most part in that decade, we're looking at films where it's the savage. It's the attacking marauders.
Savages! That's my wife, Yakima, my squaw.
Yes, but she's savage.
Si, senor. She's a little bit savage, I think.
People lined up in droves. Americans love Westerns. It's in our blood.
Stagecoach is the iconic Western. It's the Western that all others were really modeled after, and it's one of the most damaging movies for Native people in history. You have white society inside a stagecoach, and they are besieged on all sides by Native people, by the wild of America. Those that are stopping progress, those that are backwards, those that are vicious and bloodthirsty. Stagecoach summed up and gave the opinion of Native people for decades to the populace in the U.S. That's how they thought of us, and it's because of John Ford that they thought of us like that, and that Native people may have even thought of themselves.
You push them up daisies.
Oh, very interesting. Wow.
That's when we developed the sort of Tonto speak that now I think is most associated with the portrayal of Aboriginal people on screen.
But some films, instead of using a native language, well, they just ran English backwards.
And as for the Indians, they're usually white guys in red face.
White people playing native roles? I love it because it's funny. All the big stars played natives.
She can chew on my moccasins anytime she wants to.
White guys playing Indians, you know. Chuck Connors as Geronimo. There's like Adam Sandler as Malcolm X, you know.
I remember once we were on a set, the director says, I want a real native. I said, I want a real native up front. I want to see the real thing. We couldn't find one.
So one thing you'll notice from this clip, this guy Charlie Hill, and also the director Chris R, who did Smoke Signals. They're very funny guys. There's a tremendous sense of humor throughout Native American culture. I think it's probably in retaliation for the kind of tragedy that a lot of them have to endure in terms of the mistreatment over the years, and sometimes that happens. But they're very funny. They're very funny. These directors, and especially you'll see this Charlie Hill stand-up comedian a little later. He's hilarious. So as you saw there, really Stagecoach kind of set the stage, no pun intended. And often these kind of systemic problems in Hollywood of stereotypes are perpetuated because there's a kind of barrier to entry in terms of who makes the films. Same thing with women. Most of the people who make films are men, and most of them are white men. And so for Native Americans to be able to tell their stories as writers and directors was very difficult. And as you'll see, it was really not until the 1990s, late 90s, and in this century that and I say this century, I can't believe it, but I was born in 1974. But yeah, it's fairly recent that more directors have been given the ability to tell their story. I'm not going to show the clip from The Searchers because I think you get the idea of this is again a John Ford film starring John Wayne. This is a later film. Stagecoach was probably the first great Western that John Ford directed. And he's directed a lot of them. And the other great film that he's known for is The Searchers. I mean, John Wayne is a pretty overtly racist character in this film, and he does not like Native Americans. But I'm going to move on because I want to really focus this lecture on the contributions of Native Americans to film. And Chief Dan George and Will Sampson are two titans of the acting community who were both in great movies. They were both in their own individual great movies. Chief Dan George was in Little Big Man, and he was great in that. I'll show you a clip, and also Will Sampson, but two very interesting people. Chief Dan George, in addition to being a hilarious comedic actor and a really great screen presence, was also a musician and a poet and an author. And Will Sampson was also a painter and a rodeo performer as well, but he's best known as Chief from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, who in the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was the narrator. But he was fantastic. And you saw a little clip of him and Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So this goes back to, again, the documentary, but it talks about specifically these actors.
How?
Will Sampson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is one of those great performances that is completely memorable.
Raise your hands up. Up. That's it. That's it. Up. All the way up.
Everyone talks about Nicholson, but you couldn't have that movie without Will Sampson. He's the stoic Indian who really is silent for the movie, but there's something about the way he portrays them. It has a dignity.
Juicy fruit. Well, you sly son of a bitch, Chief. Can you hear me, too? Yeah, you bet. Well, I'll be damn, Chief. And they all think you're deaf and dumb. Christ. You fooled them, Chief. You fooled them. You fooled them all.
The character in Cuckoo's Nest started out as the stereotypical Indian, and it rose to a level of humanity as the picture unfolds. He has to become the symbol of freedom for America, really.
Soldiers in your dream. And that means that they can't see you now.
You think so?
Yes! Yes! What else did your dream mean?
I never been invisible before.
What we began to see in a film like, say, Little Big Man was an attempt to portray Aboriginal people as non-stereotypes, or at least attempt to flesh out the characters that they could portray on screens.
We're cut off.
It doesn't matter. We're invisible.
It played a lot with satire and sending up a lot of the stereotypes, and it was also home to an absolutely brilliant performance by Chief Dan George, who played the elder in the film with a sly comic wit that I'm not sure we'd ever seen.
Take care of my son here. See that he doesn't go crazy.
The outlaw Josie Wales, Eastwood in the film, encounters this native man played by Chief Dan George, and he's hilarious in the movie.
Glad you stopped me when you did. I might have killed her.
Oh, I noticed that.
He had most of the humor in the film. So that's what attracted me to the script in the first place, is that the Indians were treated as people with all different kinds of shadings.
I guess you were right. I ain't that old after all.
He was an elder, but he wasn't pseudo-wise, you know. He wasn't the cliche of the wise tribal leader. He was kind of a guy who was adrift, just like Josie Wales was.
I'm getting better at sneaking up on you like this. Only an Indian can do something like this.
Only an Indian could do something like that.
He was the key that brought that warmth and authenticity of who Native people really are, because he had that sense of humor. See, one of the things that I think is a very vital part in our community, what has kept us alive, is humor. Our ability to laugh at just, you know, it gets ugly sometimes, and our ability to laugh at the ugly.
Couple of horses. Far off, moving fast.
I don't hear nothing.
Gotta be an Indian to know those things.
Comedy, the ability to make light throughout this, was one of his great skills. And it's Clint Eastwood at his violent best, and yet in the middle of that film, there's Chief Dan George undoing a lot of the problems that had been done before him in a single role.
Usually have problems doing my act, you know, because I know a lot of you white people never seen an Indian do stand-up comedy before, you know. Like, for so long, you probably thought that Indians never had a sense of humor, you know. We never thought you were too funny either.
There's a much younger Charlie Hill, who I mentioned earlier. So you can see the sense of humor, a big part of it. So as that transition, and Outlaw Josie Wales, really one of Clint Eastwood's best Westerns that he directed. He directed a lot of Westerns in the 70s, you know, Hang 'em High, and The Outlaw Josie Wales was probably his best until Unforgiven, which was won this. In addition to Dances with Wolves, I think really was one of the more recent, in recent decades, Western film that was really incredible. And there have been a lot in the 21st century, some by the Coen brothers. But Dances with Wolves was really the first to kind of bring this revisionist type of Western, and had a great cast. It was about a lieutenant who decides he wants to travel to the frontier to a military post and meets a group of Lakota. And a lot of activists kind of felt like it was a fine movie, but it was still told from a white person's idea of what Indians are. But Chris Heyer, who you saw talking about this in the clip I just showed you, who would direct a very important seminal film called Smoke Signals, which we're going to get to right after this, really said that this film opened the door to a lot of Native Americans to then become filmmakers and tell their own stories in their own voices. So here's a quick clip from Dances with Wolves, where he tries to communicate with the Lakota leader. Played by Graham Greene, another great actor who just recently passed away.
Welcome. Welcome. Hi. Come. Please sit down. Sit down. Wait, just a minute. Here, here. Tatanka. Tatanka.
Tatanka.
Tatanka.
Here.
Tatanka.
Tatanka. Tatanka.
Tatanka. Buffalo.
Oh.
Buffalo.
Tatanka.
Buffalo.
Buff.
Buff. Buff.
Buff.
Buffalo. Tatanka.
Say.
The fierce one, as I call him, seems a very tough fellow. I hope I never have to fight him. From the little I know, he seems to be honest and very direct. I like the quiet one immensely. He's been patient and inquisitive. He seems eager to communicate. I would conclude that he is a man of some weight among his people.
So yeah, very important film, and unfortunately, as I mentioned, Graham Greene just passed away this year. Another very important film, although again it wasn't directed or written by a Native American, was Powwow Highway, and this starred A. Martinez and Gary Farmer. So it had Native Americans in the film, in addition to Graham Greene and Wes Studi, who you saw in the clip. They're very recognizable actor as well. They were relatively unknown at the time. So I'm not going to show a clip from Powwow Highway, but it definitely is important because it really was one of the first critically acclaimed films to depict Native Americans in starring roles. And Gary Farmer here, he's going to be in a couple of clips. In a lot of, he's very funny, and you recognize these faces, I'm sure. Studi has been in, I think, over 100 films. Graham Greene in a tremendous amount of films as well, a great career. And Adam Beach, who you saw also talking in the documentary, and Gary Farmer also. This clip from the film Dead Man, which you saw the director Jim Jarmusch speaking, that he was the guy with the kind of crazy white hair. He's done some very. He's a great independent filmmaker, and he's did this film called Dead Man, starring Johnny Depp and Gary Farmer. Great cast, as you can see there. The film is about an accountant who is traveling and meets this Native American spirit guide played by Gary Farmer, and this person's name happens to be William Blake. So the nobody character assumes that he's a reincarnation of the English poet William Blake. This is a great scene, and it's done in this beautiful style. Not only is it look like the film looks great, but it's got a great soundtrack composed by Neil Young, pretty much mostly on the guitar, just improvising as you watch the film. So you'll hear that come into this clip too. It's really remarkable music.
The round stones beneath the earth have spoken through the fire.
What?
Things which are alike in nature grow to look alike. And the speaking stones have lain a long time looking at the sun.
The speaking stones?
Some believe they descend with the lightning, but I believe they are on the ground and are projected downward by the bolt. Did you kill the white man who killed you?
I'm not dead.
What name were you given at birth, stupid white man?
Blake. William Blake.
Is this a lie? Or a white man's trick?
No. I'm William Blake.
And you are a dead man.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Is your name really William Blake?
Yes.
Every night and every morn, some to misery are born. Every morn and every night, some are born to sweet delight. Some are born to sweet delight. Some are born to endless night.
I really don't understand.
But I understand, William Blake. You were a poet and a painter. And now you are a killer of white men. You must rest now, William Blake.
So yeah, you could hear Neil Young coming in with his guitar, and Gary Farmer. He's hilarious, but he's also quoting a William Blake poem called "Auguries of Innocence" just beautifully there. Just a lot of great elements to this film. But in the 1990s, starting really in the late 90s with Smoke Signals, Native American filmmakers really, through independent films, began to represent their own stories and a more realistic account of their culture. Some notable directors and filmmakers that are important are I mentioned Sterling Harjo. Four Sheets to the Wind is the first film that he really made that was kind of noticed. But Reservation Dogs is a great show. I think it airs on Hulu. Erica Tremblay is another important director. Kyle Bell, a documentary called "Defend the Sacred" from 2016, definitely worth checking out. Jeff Barnaby, I'm gonna maybe have time. I don't know if I will have time to show you a clip from one of his films because my time is short, but definitely want to mention some of these filmmakers. Taika Waititi, you would probably recognize his films, Thor Ragnarok. He's directed some big Hollywood films. He started off really, he's an Australian indigenous Australian filmmaker. What We Do in the Shadows, the sort of mockumentary horror film, was really where he kind of gained prominence. And he made a great film called Hunt for the Wilder People, and Jojo Rabbit recently. And Zacharias Canuck, an Inuit filmmaker from Canada. So, but the film I'm going to show you now is Smoke Signals, and it's really it's kind of the film that is the watershed moment for Native American directors, and you'll see why. It's just a very well written script, directed by Chris Iyer, and it was you see the cast was just fantastic, and it was really a it was recognized as being the first full-length film written, directed, and produced by Native American peoples to really reach a wide audience.
Hey, Victor, what do you remember about your dad? I remember one time we had this fry bread eating contest, and he ate 15 pieces of fry bread. It was cool.
You know, Thomas, I don't know what you're talking about half the time. Why is that?
I don't know.
I mean, you just go on and on talking about nothing. Why can't you have a normal conversation? You're always trying to sound like some damn medicine man or something. I mean, how many times have you seen Dances with Wolves? 100, 200? Oh, jeez. You have seen it that many times, haven't you? Don't you even know how to be a real Indian?
I guess not.
Well, shit, no wonder. Jeez. I guess I'll have to teach you then, ain't it? First of all, quit grinning like an idiot. Indians ain't supposed to smile like that. Get stoic. No, like this. You gotta look mean or people won't respect you. White people will run all over you if you don't look mean. You gotta look like a warrior. You gotta look like you just came back from killing a buffalo.
But our tribe never hunted buffalo. We were fishermen.
What? You want to look like you just came back from catching a fish? This ain't Dances with Salmon, you know.
The actors here, Adam Beach and this actor Evan Adams, really, and I think this actor here really makes this movie great. I just want to move on because I want to talk about some other movies and get to a couple more clips before I open it up to questions. Such a film worth seeing. This film also, Four Sheets to the Wind, directed by Sterling Harjo, very it's funny at times, but also very poignant and as a lot of these films are. They're kind of seeing the comedy through the tragedy, and this is a film that does that very well. Um, and I mentioned Rhymes for Young Ghouls. This is a very heavy film. This is a written by Jeff Barnaby, and it really was about the history of abuse of First Nations peoples by the government agents in Canada, and it was from the perspective of a young girl who gets kind of in the drug trade, and her father, who just recently comes out of prison, gets wind of it and is not too happy. I'm not going to show a clip, but I want to talk about another film, Drunktown's Finest. Again, this is another difficult film. It's the story of three young Navajo natives who strive to escape the hardship of their reservation. A lot of these films deal with life on a reservation. And again, I'm not going to show a clip, but I definitely recommend checking it out. Another film that came out recently is a film called Fancy Dance. And this is another one that is definitely worth seeing. It's the story of an indigenous girl and her aunt who kind of bond as they go for a loved one who has gone missing. And it stars Lily Gladstone, who is recently nominated for Best Supporting Actress for a great film called Killers of the Flower Moon. But I just want to move on and definitely show you a clip, at least one clip from Reservation Dogs. And if you get nothing else out of this lecture, I would say watch this show. Again, it's very funny. It's about kids living on a reservation, but it's also, it deals with some very heavy stuff as well. There's really no getting around that with some of these stories. But it was inspired partly by Sterling Harjo's childhood, but also by the film Stand By Me. He was very inspired by that. That's a film that was directed by Rob Reiner about four young friends about 12 years old who have an adventure, and the kids in Reservation Dogs are maybe a little bit older, but around that age. But this is really also Taika Waititi co-produced this along with Harjo, and I think it was a lot of people of the indigenous community not only starred in the film and were unknown, but really helped make the film and was part of the production and won a lot of awards. This is a great scene. So this group of friends have recently lost one of their own friends. They call themselves the Res Dogs, Reservation Dogs. I think it's a play on Reservoir Dogs, the Quentin Tarantino film. But they lost one of them to suicide, so they're dealing with that very heavy subject. And the main character here, a character named Bear, ends up meeting his spirit guide here. And this is a character that will recur throughout the show, and it's a great character. It's just fantastic.
Aho! Young warrior. Looks as though you've tasted the white man's lead.
It's only paintballs.
I've had many brothers and sisters meet the same fate in my time.
Are you Crazy Horse or sitting...
No. I'm not one of those awesome guys. No, I'm more of your unknown warrior. Yeah. You know my name? William Knifeman. I was at the Battle of Little Bighorn. That's right. I didn't kill anybody, but I fought bravely. Well, I didn't actually fight. I actually didn't even get into the fight itself. But I came over that hill real rugged like, I saw Custer like that. That yellow hair, he was sitting there. Son of the morning star, that guy right there. Fuck, I really hated him. So I went after him. But then the damn horse hit a gopher hole. Fucking rolled over and squashed me. I died there. This horse actually, little shit. And now I'm meant to travel the spirit world, find lost souls like you. The spirit world, it's cold. My nipples are always hard. I'm always hungry.
Got it.
Being a warrior, it's not always easy. You and your thuggy-ass friends, what are you doing for your people? It's easy to be bad. But it's hard to be a warrior with dignity. Remember that. In my time, we gave everything. We died for our people. We died for our land. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna fight for? I'm just fucking with you. But for real though, listen to what I said. Marinate on that. Oh. Let's go. Ha! Fuck.
So that actor, his name is Dallas Goldtooth, and he's great. I really was sad when they stopped making the show. They didn't get canceled. I think Sterling Harder just wanted to move on. And one of the actresses in Reservation Dogs, who's great, is Lily Gladstone. So she's part native, part European, but she's very rose to great prominence in the film Killers of the Flower Moon. But she's also great in Reservation Dogs. So I want to show one more clip, and then I'm going to come out and see if you guys have any questions. I'm going to go back to this clip, but I do want to just mention Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese. And this is a film that, although Scorsese directed it, had a lot of input from the Osage Nation. It's about their history and about this string of murders that happened in Oklahoma in the 1920s related to the discovery of oil on their land. And it was based on a great book by David Gran and a great cast with Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro and Jesse Plemons. So definitely worth checking out. But this clip I want is the last clip I want to show you. It's again from Reservation Dogs. And this is a clip where one of the girls in the friend group goes to visit her aunt, who's kind of a mentor, who's in prison, and gives her offerings of monster drink, energy drinks and candy, and they have a kind of a deep discussion here.
Come on in. Tell me what's wrong. Brought me the offerings. Let's go.
Well, Bear and Alora don't talk anymore. Well, we hang out, but it's like they're just trying to be polite. Cheese is always with his new grandma all the time, which is good. I don't know, man. It's like, I just feel like we're broken up. And like, we're supposed to be the dream team. Fucking Res Dogs.
Friends grow apart.
Saying like that. It's like everyone's walking around in the sunshine. And we're just in the darkness. Bear and Alora especially.
Well, put your hands up on the table, like we just did. Close your eyes. We're gonna have a little prayer. I need your help.
What?
Not you. Keep your eyes shut. Eyes closed no matter what happens, okay? Just focus on the dark. Take long, slow breaths. Good. Just listen to your breathing for a second. Remember the stories I told you when you were growing up about the people we come from. Generations of medicine people. Caretakers. These are the ones who held us together as we arrived from our homelands. The healers who carried us and buried us as we marched. Men and women whose songs led us through the dark. They're watching you, my girl. You don't need me. You have them. This is the power we carry. When you really pray, they're all around you. All the time.
Oh shit.
Takes focus though. Intent. Open your eyes.
Holy fuck.
Oh, it's such a good scene. Paulina Alexis is that actress's name. She's great, obviously. Uh, so is Lily Gladstone. There she is. Okay, so listen, I'm gonna come out of my screen share.